Hi guys, I'm back with another video. I tried to record and upload last night, but we had some issues dealing with the computer freezing up and everything else because we were talking about the doll. Well, I was going to upload a video about the boy doll that's behind me, and 19 minutes into the video, it froze. So I'm starting over on a whole new day, and I'm going to pick up on the same story that I tried to set up last night and things didn't go as planned. I don't know what type of order I'm going to start off at this point, but everything that I do is going to be a little bit of this from the beginning, a little bit of that. And if you guys have a certain order you'd like me to go in, starting from my childhood, starting from my son, up to today, whatever it is. Well, the boy doll behind me, I purchased off of eBay. When he came, I was really uncomfortable when the box arrived because it was a huge brown box. And my 19-year-old, he actually was the one to bring the box in. I've ordered numerous dolls off of eBay, all different kinds, haunted, not haunted, cute, different races, everything. Well, when this box came, I had an uneasy feeling. When it was time to open the box, I couldn't even bring myself to open the delivery box that he came in, so I asked my 19-year-old to do it for me. He cut open the box, and inside that box, it was another box, and it was the box with Charlie in it. So my 19-year-old was like, okay, I did the hard part, get your doll. And I was like, no, I say, I can't do it. I say, you're going to have to do it. I said, because I have an uneasy feeling. And so he took the other box outside of the big box and he laid the box with the doll in it on the couch. He told me, he said, now you take the lid off. I still couldn't do it. So when he lifted the lid off of the doll, a whiff of air just went straight up my nose. I automatically started feeling sick, feeling like I had to throw up, lightheaded, everything. When we pulled the paper back off of him, he was dressed in a tux. His hands were laying on him like he was laying in a casket. Down beside him in this box was his outfits, which is the outfit that he has on now along with the shoes. So I had my 19-year-old to take him out and put him in our living room. So we tried to find a place where he would draw attention, but also where he wouldn't be damaged. The dolls have a lot of weight to them. Like I said earlier, they weigh the weight of a 5 or 6 year old. We stood him next to the hall door, and well, first we changed his clothes. We changed him out of the tux, and we put him in what he has on, and we stood him by the hall door. My husband and my 3 sons, they decided to leave home for the evening, which left me there by myself. I'm sitting on my computer in the living room watching television and scrolling the internet, and I hear a chuckle. The chuckle that I heard, I didn't pay too much attention to at first because it was real faint. And like I said, I had the front door open with the screen door shut, so I thought maybe it was somebody outside. But while looking down at my computer, I saw a shadow come out of my hallway and come towards the doll. I glanced up from over my computer and I see this little boy. He's running up to the doll, touching him, giggling, and running back off. He would go into the hallway, come back, touch the doll again, and do the same thing. When he noticed that I could see him, he touched the doll, he giggled, he did a cartwheel to the hallway, and he disappeared back into my son's room. At that point, I emailed the lady that I purchased him from on eBay, and I'm like, look, this has been going on. I just took him out the box maybe 3 hours ago. This is the activity that I'm having. Did you experience any of that? And she emailed me straight back and she said no. She said she had a living room full of them. She said, and she never had any problems. She said, but maybe there's a spirit in your home that thinks he's a real little boy and that's trying to make a new friend. So I was like, okay, well that makes sense because we do have spirits in our home, which we have been dealing with already. We didn't know at the time that a lot of the chaos that we were dealing with was coming just from this little boy spirit. Well, a couple days went by and Charlie continued to have a little friend. And maybe 3 months into having him, I was sitting outside on the steps talking to my sister and her friend, and my 4-year-old comes outside. He bops down on the front step, and he says, he has his frown on his face, and he's looking down at the ground. I'm like, Torian, what's wrong with you? And he say, Charlie won't leave me alone. And my sister turned around. She say, who? He said, Charlie. I say, the doll? He said, mm-hmm. I say, the doll that's in the living room? He said, yeah. I say, Chew, that's just a doll. We call him Chew for his nickname. He was like, I knew you wasn't going to believe me. I say, I'm not saying that I don't believe you. I say, but he's a doll. He say, but he been messing with me. I say, what is he doing? He said, he'll take and pinch me. He bite me. He curse at me. He said, and he's mad because I told him I don't want to play with him anymore. And I said, okay, the doll that's in the living room? And he said, yes. So I said, okay, what else does he do? He was like, nothing. He just been being mean to me, and he be cursing at me. I say, do any of the other dolls do it? He said, no. He said, but Annika, which is the doll behind me with the red and white on, he says that when I'm in my brother's room playing a game, he said she'll come in there and she just smile and get in the bed and lay down. He said, but she don't bother me, just Charlie. So I went in the house. My sister and our friend came in behind us. I looked at the doll. I took him up off of the stand that he was on. And I kid you not, he had sand and dirt under the bottom of his shoes. The stand itself was clean. The dirt and stuff was only under the bottom of his shoes, like he had been walking. I took the shoes off and I took a picture of him. And I put him back on the stand. And I was like, okay, I say, how long has this been going on? And Torian said, for a long time. So I was like, okay, Mama gonna deal with it. So my sister and her friend, well, our friend, decided that we needed to figure out what we were going to do. Because either a spirit was attached to him or a spirit that was in our house was manipulating him. We didn't know which one. So at that point, my baby got ready to start school. And 3 days before he was supposed to start school, I had a dream. In that dream, my son had been kidnapped. I went to the school, and everything that I saw in that dream, I looked for as a sign that to make it seem like it wasn't just a dream, see if there were any facts to it. I found everything in that dream that I was shown, which was a broken link on the fence on the playground, what swing was broken, what bolt was missing along the fence line, even down to the dead hedge that was in the yard of the school. So later on that night, when I go to bed, the dream continues. But this time, it shows me a bridge with a sign with a name on it. I woke up out of my sleep, and with my husband being on the force for 30-some years, I asked him, did he know where it was? He said he had never heard of it. So I grabbed my iPad, and I Googled it. That place actually existed, and it existed in the way that I was shown in the dream. Like everything, all the way down to even the rust on the bridge. I went to the school and I told him, I said that he wouldn't be attending there. Maybe about a week later, that school didn't even open up. They wound up transferring to another school. Well, throughout the whole year of pre-K, he was afraid that he was going to be kidnapped. This dream had never been discussed in front of him. This dream was never even brought to his attention. We didn't change what was normal for us as far as our kids and getting them to school or anything. But some type of way he knew about it. So he would always worry that we were going to forget him. He wound up leaving that school, passing to kindergarten and starting at another school. Well, everything seemed to be going okay at first, but his anxiety over being forgotten increased by 90%. And it was so bad until we had to come up with a game plan, including the teachers, to make sure that he understood he was going to be safe and the fear that he had of something happening to him would not happen. Well, he came to me one day, and he was talking about Charlie just in general, and that he didn't want to touch him, he didn't want to be around him or whatever. Because from time to time I take him down, I clean him up, and I have my boys to help me. But he wanted nothing to do with the dog. So my sister, his middle brother, and Torian, we were all in a truck at a store. And on the way there, my sister and I were discussing about needing to get rid of the dog. And while we were talking about it, my 5-year-old now at this time was in the back seat. He was playing on his phone. He was playing a game. And he never ever looked up from the phone. Matter of fact, through the whole conversation, he stayed quiet. His middle brother, myself, and my sister, we were talking. And then all of a sudden, Torian says, "You know he can hear you, right?" When he said that, his brother jumped to the other side of the truck, we were in a Hummer. And he said, "That thing in here with you right now?" And he said, "Mm-hmm." He never looked up from his phone. So I'm like, "Torian, where is he at in here?" Torian said, "He's sitting right here. He's sitting between me and Vaughn." So I'm like, okay. So me and my sister looked at each other, and Vaughn and I looked at each other. And then Vaughn, which is his middle brother, he was like, "Oh no, that dog gotta go." So we were trying to figure out how when we got home we were going to get rid of him. This is the part of the video I was on last night when the computer decided to freeze up and my video just crashed. So we decided that when we got home, I was just going to throw the doll away. I put the truck in reverse. I had my truck at that time for maybe about 2 months. I put my truck in reverse, and when we got ready to back out the parking space, the whole truck just shut down and would not crank back up or anything. We had to push it back up in the parking lot. When my husband got off, he went to go check on my truck, and I hadn't given him the story of what had happened at that point. He called me and he was like, "You got your keys, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I'm going to have to come get them." He said, "Because we can't get inside the truck." I said, "Okay." And a guy that he had brought to look at my truck got down on the ground and was looking underneath my truck. My truck went into gear, reversed, without a key, with the doors being locked, and rolled over this guy. They had to lift the truck up off of him. When he came to get the keys, he was kind of irritated because he couldn't understand how the truck went into gear when it had been sitting there almost 5 hours. So he made it back to the place where my truck was, and he called me. I was trying to explain to him what had happened prior to the truck shutting down. But every time we tried to talk about it, static would come across the phone. Like, he couldn't understand me, I couldn't hear him. And that's when we realized something was going wrong. Even right now while I'm talking to you all, my camera is pretty much, the screen is flashing. They get the truck, he comes home, and we get in the vehicle and we decide to drive to try to go talk about it. But on the way, things started happening. We had to pull up to a church and try to hold our conversation there. It still didn't do any good. So my son gets ready for school the next day, and he goes to school. He gets out, I ask him how was his day, and he explained that he had a good day or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I need to ask you something. I say, "Does Charlie go to school with you?" He said, "Yeah." So being a mom, you know, kids can have an overactive imagination. So I decided to try and trick him to see if he was, you know, telling me everything. So I asked him, I said, "Do your friends play with Charlie?" And he was like, "No, they can't see him." I said, "They can't?" He said, "No." I said, "None of your friends can see him." He said, He said, "He don't even come to class with me." I say, "Well, where does he go?" I say, "He waits outside the classroom on you?" He say, "No." He said he goes into this room at school where there's a bunch of boxes. He described everything in the room, and he says that he stands there by the door and wait for me to get out of class. He said when the day over with, he comes back home with me. So with him having so many details of this room, I called the principal and I asked her. And she told me, yes, that room does exist. She said, but it's not on the end of the hall where the students are. She said it hasn't been open since the school opened up. She said it's more like a storage room. So when I started naming things in the position that they were in, she said she was going to go check it. She would call me back. When she called me back, she knew it was something wrong because everything that he had named was in an exact place where he said it would be in this room. Now, mind you, this room don't even have a window. So at that point, the dean called. And every morning before he would go to class, the whole administrative staff would say a prayer over him and try to protect him and reassure him. I would have to be at school earlier than any other parent just to get my baby because his fear was so bad, his anxiety was so bad. This went on for a full year and 3 months. The activity in our house increased by, I want to say at the time, 40%. Everybody was dealing with something. Every time we tried to talk about getting rid of the doll, things went wrong. If we moved the doll and we tried to put him up, take him away from the property, my 5-year-old would suffer. And what I mean by that, nightmares, terrors, just everything that you can imagine. So that's why we still have the doll. I've even thought about trying to give him to someone and letting them know my experiences. But I'm afraid if I do, whatever's attached to the doll may wind up affecting my baby. So we kept him. The activity got so bad we had to get a paranormal investigative team into our home. They came, they did like a 4-hour investigation. They had a medium who helped solve cases with the police, cold cases with the police department, who they used, who came out. Everything that I had been saying, everything that I had been seeing, this man picked up on instantly. When they were finished with their investigation and had removed the little boy, my son's room smelled like a church and roses for almost a week. The sunlight would come in whereas it was always dark. The street light would shine in whereas it was always dark. But maybe 6 months after that, my 16-year-old, whose name is Vaughn, he started experiencing things. The things that he was experiencing were to the point of knocking on the window, seeing things standing at the foot of his bed, things being in the bed with him, which I have so many things I could say about the bed situation. But my 19-year-old also started being affected. He was being grabbed. He was being pulled out of the bed. He would wake up during the middle of the night to voices. He would see shadows. So the list just went on and on. What it did was it left my 5-year-old alone and it started attacking my other sons. And it was so bad until we were running around, saging the house, blessing the house, anointing the kids, anything that we thought would work. And it would bring peace and comfort for a while, and then it would come back with a vengeance. The dolls came in after I had moved here. But when I first moved here, I was already experiencing things. From the house sounding like people were just going through flipping furniture. We would get up and check, nothing out of the ordinary, doors slamming, footsteps, men talking, an old lady talking, voices in our ear, somebody getting in the bed with us, somebody touching us, even as far as being in the bathroom and hearing a man cough or them blowing soap bubbles off my back. My son always described them as a monster, but we found out why he was describing the little boy as a monster, because he had been killed in a house fire here, and the house that was originally here was torn down, and the home we staying in now was built on that property, on the same property, which I had also told to my husband, but he thought that this was the original home. So when the medium came and explained the same thing, and then the investigators did their research after they left my home, they found out everything that I had said was factual. They had to go through a lot of digging to find it because the street was not the street name that it is today. And as time went on, everything progressed. Everything got worse. Everything got to the point where no one was sleeping, or we were taking shifts sleeping. The kids wouldn't go to the bathroom by themselves, nothing. We started hearing glasses breaking. We hear people calling our name. We called growls. We called so much stuff in this home. And that will be coming up probably in my next video, because I do want to give a little bit of background onto some of the things that happened after my 5-year-old, but also things that need to be broken down a little bit more so that you guys can understand like how we figured it was this, how we figured it was that. I have recordings of things that we've caught in our home. We have just been through a lot of crap. And even trying to make these videos, something has been happening every single time, no matter what time of day, no matter what time of night. While I'm sitting here filming this video, my computer screen keeps flashing. Last night it froze up completely, so I had to delete that video, and I just got irritated because I put so much work into it and had to start back over. If you can see the oil spot that's on the boy's head behind us, that is anointing oil, because activity has picked up again. He started to move and everything else. In my previous video, the girl doll that's next to him in the rear, her name is Annika. And we had her standing just like all three of them standing now. But when I came out the next morning to do another video, she was leaning forward, looking past Charlie, literally with her back bent, turned sideways away from the wall. We did not pose them like that or anything else. So I left her like that in the previous video. But I'm trying to find a way to work on just making sure I can give you guys some good content or whatever. The girl in the baby pink shirt, her name is Tinley. I never had a problem with her, other than if you put her next to Charlie and Annika on the end, she always winds up on the floor even if there's nobody home. For 2.5 years, I thought Charlie was still on a stand on top of the doll cabinet, and he was standing up there without a stand. And no matter how my husband or my sons moved the doll case, he always stood. He never fell over. We found out he wasn't on a stand when I took him down to clean his stand and to fix his hair and everything else. But I had a huge pink teddy bear sitting on the opposite side of him. One day my sons and I come home, no one's home, unlock the door, get ready to come in, and the pink bear is all the way over by the front door. And this is a huge, huge bear, super heavy, who had been sitting on top of the doll case next to them for a long time. So it's been so much that has happened, so much that's going on. I apologize if I don't get 3 videos up at least a week, but my niece and I have been experiencing so many problems trying to get these videos up, especially if we're talking about the dolls. I'm going to go ahead and end this video before it freezes up or my computer decides it wants to shut down, because literally the screen that I'm recording on and I'm speaking to you all on is flashing while I'm talking to you. So I'm going to try to get up another video this evening. If I can't get it up this evening, it will be up tomorrow. So please stay tuned, and I would love to know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Much love. Talk to you later.